Time for Doc Sports 10 and 10. Scott Spreitzer, Tony George, 10 games coming up over the next 10 minutes, and let's get to it, Tony. We've got some college football on Saturday, whole slew of games in week 2. How about Cincinnati at Ohio State, Tony? Buckeyes open as high as 17.5. They're down to 16.5 as we speak.
Well, one thing about this game here, both defenses last week allowed less than 220 yards in this game. 16.5, if it's going to be a low-scoring game, kind of brings in the dog a little bit. You know, that's kind of what I was thinking here. I think they're both going to play. Cincinnati plays good defense, as you saw.
Sure.
They made UCLA look absolutely useless offensively, made their quarterback look bad. So, you know, I think that's a few too many points. High expectations on Ohio State, Scott.
And remember this, Ryan Day now in a couple of games, going back to late last year when he took over for Urban Meyer. Last week in the opening game, they get up big. They've shut things down. Always got to remember that when you're laying points with the Buckeyes.
Nebraska. Couple of Nebraska boys. We're a couple of Nebraska, couple of Huskers here.
That's right.
We had our tail between our legs last week a little bit. Needed a couple of defensive touchdowns on Nebraska. They didn't get the cover, obviously. Scott Frost's debut this season with all the preseason hype kind of was a dud. Actually was a big dud.
Sure.
And now they're taking on Colorado, the old hated rival from the Big 12 days, and of course a lot of bad blood between these two. Colorado stuck it to them in Lincoln last year at the very end of the game here. I bet this game on Sunday at the Circa here in Las Vegas when it was 6.5, Scott.
Oh, they opened 7.5 at one point. Yeah.
So we've got a 4-point line drop here. Your reaction?
Well, my reaction is this. Nebraska they better figure out what's going on with the redshirt center. We were concerned about the defense and the problems potentially on the defensive side of the football. The problem was, and I'm not kidding, I'm as serious as it gets, about half the snaps from center to Adrian Martinez, the quarterback Martinez had to leap in the air, which throws off the timing in that offense under Scott Frost. It's all about timing. Better fix that situation. By the way, the number's all the way down to 3.5 from that opening number of 7.5. How about A&M at Clemson? Tony's got a free pick in this one. I'm going to let him talk a little bit more than I am on this one, but it opened 19.5, down to 17.5.
Well, Sharp speeded up a little bit. Good number. Last year, if you recall, with Texas A&M against that defense that Clemson had last year, racked up almost 500 yards of offense. 2-point ball game here. I'll tell you what, as much as you hear about Lawrence at quarterback for Clemson, let's not forget about Kellen Mond at Texas A&M, who offensively returns 7 starters, Scott. I like A&M plus a points in this game. That's my free pick.
Wow, I
definitely.
like it.
I also wanted to bet 632 yards at Georgia Tech is what. So, you know, we're expecting a high-scoring game here. But I'll tell you what, I think they can trade punches with them offensively.
I'll say this, Clemson defense, listen, relatively speaking, not quite at the quality of last year. We'll see if A&M can at least hang that number. Jimbo Fisher knows Clemson from his ACC days. Check it out.
LSU, Texas, big one. Tell you what, all you've heard all week long, the best underdog head coach in college football has got to be Herman at Texas.
Yep.
I wrote these down so I wouldn't forget. He is 13-2 as an underdog the last 15 times, either at Houston or at Texas. I thought Texas looked probably about as good as any team I saw last week. Now, granted, it was a weak sister. But Ogeron, 2-6 against the spread outside of the SEC. His last 8. I like that. We're betting in the numbers, Scott. We're not betting in the games. That's what I'm saying. You know where I'm leaning on this one.
Well, I don't think Texas gets there. I played them under 9 wins. I think it's a rough season for them. I think 8 wins tops. Got to be careful what I say about the Longhorns because my kid might be going there in about 3 years. So we'll leave it at that. But as far as LSU, watch that new run-pass option they're using. It looked great last week, Tony. San Diego State, UNLV. Who picked this game for 10 and 10? San Diego State, UNLV. Come on, Tony. UCLA laying 7. I'm kidding you, by the way.
I know.
They've been as high as 8. But anyway, as far as San Diego State's concerned, they took on a decent FCS program last week, that being Weber State. They shut them out. Problem was, they came 2 field goals from shutting out themselves. 6-0 win. Don't like the UCLA offense. What about you?
Well, one thing I do like, Rocky Long's unconventional defense, we hear about it every year, held Weber State, who's a good football team in the lower divisions, to 154 yards. The problem is they only put up 238, and of course UCLA only put up 218 last week. going to be a snooze fest. That's what I think. And, of course, we got Miami, who opened up with a loss.
Right.
Up Mac Brown. The best. I'm so glad to see Mac Brown back in college football because he's the best big game fade coach on the planet. I cried when he retired at Texas. Right. But now, a big win last week, opened up in South Carolina. I thought Howell looked great at quarterback.
Sure.
2 90-yard drives at the end of that game, Scott, to win it out of a freshman quarterback. Couple of Frosh here. I think he looked a lot better than Miami's quarterback is, but UNC plus 4.5 home dog here.
Well, I'll tell you this what. I'm not going to say a whole lot here because we got to speed this up. Otherwise, it's 10-20 rather than 10-10. I'll say this much about this game. I'm not so sure how much of North Carolina's win, come from behind win against South Carolina, was Mac Brown's doing, or how much was Will Muschamp, who I just cannot handle this guy as a head coach. Great defensive mind. Canes 1-6 against the spread last 7 trips to Chapel Hill. How about going to the NFL, Tony? And we're going to head to your neck of the woods, the Kansas City Chiefs, who are on the road at Jacksonville. Jacksonville getting the sharp action. In fact, as I look at this, we're getting a little bit of a pros versus Joes angle in this one. Tickets coming in on KC. But again, that number's moving down, Tony, because the sharp action has been on the Jaguars.
Jaguars have had some distractions down there with the hurricane.
Yep.
They've interrupted their practice schedule.
Sure.
Offensively, I don't think you would argue with me that Kansas City is way out in front of Jacksonville, but something about this line stinks to high heaven, and I don't know why Jacksonville's getting all the love. I really don't. Obviously, their defense is good. Stay away game for me.
All right. KC getting over 70% of the tickets, the public all over the Chiefs, 9 going the other way. I don't know, man.
Scary. Colts and Chargers. Another AFC West team.
Right.
A lot of love here for San Diego. Pardon me, Los Angeles.
There you go. I've
done it. A little old school. But nonetheless, the number here is 6.5. It was 7. You're getting some buyback on the Colts. Here's what I would say about this game. First of all, I think the Colts will make a great half of a teaser. That's a little free tip for you. Second of all, just because Andrew Luck is gone, is that a hit? Yes. Is it a devastating blow? No. I think they've improved the defensive side of the ball. They've got a lot of playmakers around him, and they have one of the best offensive lines. I know you and I were high in our NFL preseason totals, win totals with the Colts before we knew about Andrew Luck. But I think this is still a good football team. I think this might be a little closer than people think.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to go over the wins total, which was originally 9 with Andrew Luck at quarterback. But again, it's not a team that's going to fall off the earth. You've got Brissett, who's been around the NFL a little bit. He knows a thing or two about this offense, and they've been practicing. The keys and the top string have been practicing with Jacoby Brissett since day one, with Andrew Luck being injured. Real quick note on this. Listen, I got a buddy of mine, another bettor here in Las Vegas, who sent me this off of Twitter. I believe the Twitter guy was Evan Silva, and I believe in giving out credit where it's due. And he posted this the other day, and I got to give this to you. Listen, Pro Football Focus ranked offensive left guard for the Chargers, Dan Feeney, 80th out of 81 offensive guards last season. Center Mike Pouncey, check this out. I know a lot of people like Mike Pouncey. How about only 29th out of 39th for centers? Offensive right guard Michael Schofield, graded to the negative in both pass and run block. And offensive right tackle Sam Teavee, well, he ranked 78th out of 80 tackles from PFF and their rating systems. Boy, that offensive line isn't as good as a lot of people think for the Chargers. Tony, the Giants at the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Dallas laying 7 for the most part. Couple of 7.5s out there. Listen, I talked forever just now on the Colts and Chargers. This one is yours, my friend.
I tell you what, Zeke's back.
Yep.
$90 million richer. Spent the entire fall camp. Where? Cabo?
Yeah.
Running up and down a sand dune.
Yep.
He's not going to get 28 touches a game. But one thing about it, you always remember, Giants always used to give these guys fits. 0-4 against the spread against Dallas the last 4 years. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't know what I'm going to get out of Dallas with Zeke coming back in the fray, messing up all the chemistry they developed in the preseason.
Well, Pollard's a pretty good running back himself, but I think it's a situation where Dallas said, we don't want to see how good or maybe how bad Dak Prescott, easy for me to say, is without Zeke Elliott. So let's get Zeke Elliott back. You know what was going to happen, and he signed for that massive contract. So not quite the money you're making, Tony, but it was pretty good. Well,
I do what I can here. Pats, Steelers. Marquee game of the weekend. We're going to have this on a video, break the whole game down, but in short form here. Steelers opened up as a 7-point dog, now down to 6.5-point dog. It's all about betting into numbers and not into games for me. I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Watch our marquee matchup on this game. We'll jump into a little bit more in depth, but I'll just say this much, that I have the Steelers knocking off Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland's going to win the division. I think it's going to belong to the Pittsburgh Steelers by about a game or so. And as far as New England is concerned, I did the speech last year with Tony Robbins, Magic Johnson, Pitbull, all those guys up in San Mateo, California, and they asked, a lot of people were asking, what do you do when you're looking for an NFL future to bet on to win the Super Bowl? First and foremost, find a team that you know is going to win their division. It's the New England Patriots again. I know the odds are short, but again, how could you leave them off your ticket if you're looking at an NFL future? Because nobody in that division is going to challenge them, not even the improving New York Jets. We'll talk about this in depth on the marquee video, so be sure to check it out. Free plays, again, Tony on Texas A&M. I'm on the Indianapolis Colts plus the points. That's week 1 NFL 10-10. We'll talk to you guys next week right here at DocSports.com.
And don't forget at DocSports.com, we're giving you a free $60 to start off college and pro football this weekend. So click the link in the description below. Get over there. We'll park $60 in your account. Best of luck this weekend right there, boys.